The stadium was alive with a restless energy, a sea of 50,000 voices poised on the edge of a moment that would soon be carved into the annals of history. The midday sun hung heavy over Ouagadougou, its rays pouring down in a relentless, golden blaze, casting a warm haze that softened the harshness of cracked concrete and the vivid colors of fluttering banners. The heat was tangible, wrapping itself around the crowd like a thick blanket sticky with sweat and dust. The smell of earth baked dry mingled with the scent of grilled maize from nearby street vendors, and somewhere in the distance, the sharp, joyous laughter of children floated through the air, a fragile melody cutting through the tension like a sliver of hope. In the center of the stadium stood Ibrahim Traoré, a man both defined and burdened by history. His broad shoulders bore the weight of a nation's past and the fragile hope for its future. His uniform was dust-streaked and worn from years of trials, his boots scuffed from marches across unforgiving terrain. The sunlight caught in the deep lines of his face, etching shadows under his eyes, revealing the exhaustion of countless sleepless nights. His gaze was sharp and steady, sweeping slowly over the faces in the crowd. Faces filled with anticipation, some radiating hope, others shadowed by doubt. Many caught in the quiet suspense of what was about to unfold. Around him, the air was thick with expectation. The sounds of the crowd were a low hum, like a wave just before it crests, vibrating with a collective pulse that was almost tangible. Sweat glistened on foreheads, and hands clenched and unclenched in nervous rhythms. People leaned forward, eyes locked on the stage where Ibrahim stood, the man who had become a symbol of resilience, defiance, and the dream of a nation unshackled. Then, the opening chords of the French national anthem spilled into the air through the stadium's speakers. The melody, both majestic and haunting, began to rise above the murmurs, swelling like a tide across the field and into the stands. The anthem was a relic of a complex history, a reminder of colonial chains and painful legacies, yet also of tangled bonds and uneasy alliances. For many, it was a tune they had known since childhood, heard at ceremonies and state occasions, a thread woven into their lives like an unbreakable, if uncomfortable, tradition. But for Ibrahim, the sound stirred a tempest within, a storm of bitter memories and unyielding resolve. He remained perfectly still, his hands folded calmly behind his back, refusing to bow his head or raise it in reverence. The anthem's soaring notes filled the stadium, but his silence was louder than the music, an act heavy with meaning. The crowd noticed immediately. The collective breath of 50,000 people caught in their chests, a stunned hush falling like a sudden chill. Eyes turned sharply toward him. Some narrowed in anger, others widened in disbelief, a sea of confusion and silent questions. Behind him, an aide stepped forward hesitantly, voice trembling as he spoke, barely above a whisper but weighted with urgency. "Sir, the people expect honor. This is tradition. We must respect it." Ibrahim turned slowly, eyes calm but resolute, his gaze cutting through the unrest like a blade. His voice was quiet yet unwavering. "Respect is not obedience to chains. Respect is reclaiming our story, our identity. We will no longer sing the anthem of those who sought to erase us." The stadium remained suspended in that charged silence. Confusion rippled like waves washing over the crowd, some shifting uneasily, others daring to look away from the confrontation unfolding before them. In the stands, a young woman gripped a worn flag tightly to her chest, knuckles whitening with the strain. Her eyes shone bright with unshed tears and fierce determination. With a strength born from pain and conviction, she rose to her feet, her voice breaking through the heavy quiet like a beacon. "My father died fighting for this land. We will no longer bow to a song that silences our voice." Her words spread quickly, igniting a spark that flared and grew among the people. Murmurs became whispers, whispers became chants, and soon a powerful wave of voices rose, tentative at first, then surging with confidence. They turned away from the foreign anthem and began singing in their own tongues, voices weaving together the ancient melodies passed down through generations. The Moronaba, the song of their ancestors, flowed forth like a rushing river, wild and beautiful, carrying hope and courage across the stadium. The anthem of chains was drowned out by the anthem of a people reclaiming themselves. Ibrahim's face softened, eyes closing briefly as the burden he carried lifted, even if only for a moment. His hand brushed the small stone nestled in his pocket, a talisman from his mother, smoothed over time by his touch. Painted now with the colors of Burkina Faso, it was a gift from a small boy who had run onto the field earlier, his wide, fearless smile promising a future unbound by the past's weight. The sun began to dip toward the horizon, bathing the scene in a warm, soft orange glow. Slowly, the crowd started to disperse, hearts forever altered by a moment of quiet rebellion and profound unity. Around the world, eyes watched in stunned silence as a nation dared to sing its own truth. The story of that day was not merely one of defiance but of awakening, a story of history's chains broken by the courage of a people who refused to be silenced. Long before that afternoon, Ibrahim's journey had been shaped by forces larger than himself. Born in a small village surrounded by baobab trees and endless savanna, he was the son of farmers who knew the rhythm of the land and the stories whispered by the wind. From his earliest days, he was steeped in the traditions of his ancestors, the kingdoms that had risen and fallen, the poets and warriors who had woven a rich cultural tapestry that colonial hands tried to unravel. Yet, that history was often pushed to the margins, suppressed beneath the language and culture imposed by distant rulers. The French language was taught in schools, the anthem played at official ceremonies, while the old songs, the Moronaba and others, were relegated to quiet moments in homes or forgotten altogether. Ibrahim grew up caught between two worlds, the vibrant living culture of his people and the imposed narratives of colonization and its aftermath. As a boy, he learned to read and write in French, but his heart beat to the rhythm of drums and ancient chants. The tension between these identities shaped him, forging a deep resolve to honor his roots and challenge the lingering chains of the past. When conflict erupted across Burkina Faso, Ibrahim was thrust from boyhood into the harsh realities of war. He became a soldier, a protector of his land and people. The battlefield became both a crucible and a classroom, where he learned about loss, sacrifice, and the high cost of freedom. Friends fell beside him, villages were burned, and the echoes of gunfire haunted his dreams. Through it all, he held onto the stories and songs of his ancestors, their spirits guiding him in dark times. But even as the guns fell silent, the scars of colonial legacy remained. Foreign powers still loomed, their influence subtle yet pervasive. The playing of the French anthem at national events was a stark reminder that freedom was incomplete, that sovereignty was still a fragile ideal. The day in the stadium was meant to be a celebration, a symbol of progress and unity after years of struggle. But for Ibrahim, it was an opportunity, a moment to reclaim the narrative and demand a future authored by his people. As the first notes of the anthem played, memories flooded him, of whispered prayers, lost friends, and unyielding hope. Standing, firm, refusing to bow, he became a beacon of resistance. His silence spoke volumes. The crowd's reaction was electric. Shock gave way to murmurs, murmurs to voices raised in defiance. When the young woman stood and spoke of her father's sacrifice, she gave voice to a collective grief and strength that stirred the stadium. The Moronaba rose like a tide, imperfect yet powerful, a testament to survival and identity. Each voice was a thread in the fabric of a people weaving their own destiny. As the song soared, Ibrahim felt the heavy weight of leadership lighten, replaced by the warmth of shared purpose. The stone in his pocket, once a simple keepsake, became a symbol of enduring love and hope for generations to come. The sun set slowly, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple. The crowd dispersed, but the moment lingered, etched into memory, a turning point in a nation's story. Ibrahim watched the small boy play nearby, laughter ringing free and unburdened. In that innocent smile, he saw the promise of a future unchained, a future where his people's voices would never again be silenced by the songs of the past. The anthem of chains was no more. In its place rose the anthem of a people who had dared to reclaim themselves, who had sung their truth into the dawn of a new era,